talk about this as the 6X, which shows us our effectiveness of managing the people side of change has a direct impact on our ability to meet or exceed objectives. And if we're able to go from poor to excellent, we're 6 times more likely to deliver the results and outcomes we seek. What I find maybe even more interesting is if we take one step out of the basement, we go from poor to fair, we get almost a 3X lift. And so one of the things I think as a profession we need to embody is the notion that we can't let perfect get in the way of progress, because I don't believe there is such thing as a perfectly managed change. And in this profession, it's really a series of trade-offs around every corner as we go down the path. And so making sure we're focusing on better than and not perfect is one of the key takeaways that I think a lot of practitioners develop in their early parts of their practice. We also know from research that the more muscle we can build in the organization around change, the more successful our projects are going to be. McKinsey's famous for a study they put out that said 2/3 of transformation efforts fail to deliver the value that it's expected. Our research and data would show that if we're able to build strong muscle, get into level 4, level 5 change management maturity as measured by our maturity scale, we're looking at 2/3 of the transformation succeeding now. And so I think a lot of this is still work to be done. In many ways, we're an emerging discipline. And the research would point to the over half of the clients that participate in our study are below a level 4 in terms of their maturity. So that to me says collectively, we've still got a lot of work to do to grow the muscle in our organizations. Interestingly, out of our last round of research, we also see some direct correlation between our ability to build the muscle in the organization, again, measured by the maturity framework, and our expectations for employee engagement. And I think this is some research we'll continue to build on in future studies here. But the idea that if we're able to bring the people in our organizations on the changes and equip, enable, and support them, they're much more likely to stick with us and to stay engaged and to participate in the next change. And so last piece of research here on this, we know from data across 2 decades that the top contributors to change success fluctuate. The one that doesn't change is active and visible sponsorship is the #1 predictor of change success. So if we want to get this right, we've got to start at the top of the organization. I've been with Prosci 6 years now, and what's interesting, 2 through 5 tend to move around. When I first got into the organization, dedicated change management resources was #4 on the list. You fast forward 6 years and it's #2 on the list. I think leaders and organizations are starting to wake up to the fact that the people side of change, we're no longer the crazies in the corner starving for attention. People recognize that this work matters. I still think there's also a very different perception for leader to leader around what change management is all about. I still hear a lot of organizations talk about this being songs at the end of meetings and hugs and the sort of kumbaya moments. And one of our clients called Prosci the hard side of the soft stuff. And I think we take much more of an empirical, outcome-oriented, results-focused approach to change. And the idea that dedicated resources are now becoming more prevalent is, to me, an indicator that our discipline continues to mature.